Well, the biggest difference between the RT4 and the RT7 is this. Now, what does that mean? That means that there is far, far less clutter, meaning that you will keep a lot more mobile and on those fish. On its predecessor, the RT4, you had the boat, you had the transmitter box, and you had a tablet and your tripod, of course, which, if I'm honest, was a little bit of a pain at times because it was loads more to carry, loads more to link up and set up, and it was just a little bit annoying. Whereas this new version, everything is built inside this handset. So in here, you've got the echo sounder, the tablet is inside it, the transmitter box is inside it as well. So all you're going to be carrying around is the handset and the boat, which means you can keep on the move and on those fish. There are some small adjustments in here technology-wise as well. I'm not going to go them into detail because, quite simply, I don't know them. The technicians will know far more about that than me. But what I can say is this makes fishing a lot more easier to keep on the move and transport your gear. Absolutely, it is an all-in-one controller. This is the brains of the boat. It has got your joysticks on there, it has got your hopper drops on there, it's got your echo sounder, your transmitter box. Literally everything is inside this controller. The sort of monitor and screen is detachable as well, and you can just charge everything within this handset. Obviously the V2, the V3 and the V4 have gradually got smaller over the years, but now we have the RT7 and this new handset, and it does everything. Yes, it has built-in GPS, and that is one of its best functions in my opinion. So if you found that spot out there, that tiny little hot spot in the weed, you can mark that up on the boat permanently and get the boat driving to it every time. Now, it's just like a sat nav on your car. It will take you there with supreme accuracy. If you pop a marker float up, I would say it will always be within a foot of that marker float. And obviously, if you are unsure, you have got supreme detail in the Elements echo sounder there, so you will be able to see every single nook and cranny on that bottom. So if you're unsure, you will get it confirmed on your echo sounder. So yes, that GPS is a mega function, one of my favorite aspects of the boat. The boat can drive itself to an extent. Obviously, once you've GPS'd your marks and you have marked them, there is an autopilot function on the boat. Now, that autopilot function does exactly what it says. You click that button, click drive, and it will drive by itself to that spot that you have GPS'd up with supreme accuracy. You can even program different modes where it will actually drop the bait for you as soon as it gets to that spot. It will slow down, you can speed it up, slow it down, so you can actually get to the spot really slowly, and you can choose what speed that might be. Also, you can create a home point with that autopilot as well. So for instance, if you've just dropped a bait to your mark, you can then click home, press go, and you can sort all your rods out, knowing that your bait boat is going to drive back to you on its own. I hope not, because I'm no engineer and I find it very easy to use. So no, you definitely don't need a degree to use it. Now, on the previous models, sort of the V3s and what have you, they did have different pages on the app, which to some people it did make it tricky and a little bit long in the tooth to use, a little bit confusing as well. But on this one, everything is on the same page and the functions are so easy to navigate. I mean, you can chop and change on the echo sounder between 50/50, down vision, side vision, 3D vision, all within the same function on here and at the touch of a button. So you certainly don't need an engineer's degree to use this. It really is as simple as it comes. It can't find, well, actually, yeah, it probably can find fish. It's a bit of a carp finding robot, to be totally honest, particularly in the winter time when the carp are shoaling up and they are less active. There's been a number of times that I've used this boat on deep waters in the middle of winter. I've driven it around and the lake looks completely dead, only to see that flash, sort of fishy flash on the screen which will be followed by a load of carp shapes. And of course, you have found them. And when that happens, stick your GPS on, mark that spot, and you could really have a memorable winter session. In fact, it could make your winter. Obviously, in the warmer months when the fish are more active, you might see flashes of fish on the echo sounder, but they may have moved very quickly as a result of spooking potentially off the boat or whatever. But in the winter time, when they are more torpid and together, that is a huge function on the boat. And I guess they do find fish, yeah. Absolutely, yeah. We get asked that all the time. You can simply head over to the website, Carp Lounge, just type it in Google, you'll be able to go on there, and there is a section where you can book an hour slot and an appointment with one of the technicians. So yeah, if you have any queries about the RT7 or want to know how to use it, etc., you can book those appointments online in the UK. It certainly can be, if you want it to be. There's a couple of different options of motors. I've actually got the quieter one, but you can get one with a bit more power if you fish those huge windswept waters in Europe, and you need that little bit more horsepower to get through those waves. But personally, on the lakes that I fish, I like it to be dead quiet, so I can maneuver the boat around by the snags in little hidey holes in the weed, and I can just creep up on those areas and drop things very, very quietly. Not only that, it also has your lights which you can turn on and off, so if at night time you want to creep up to those little hot spots and don't want anyone else seeing, you can turn the lights off. And obviously doubling that up with your autopilot and GPS mode, it's a very, very stealthy boat. Well, you can take two out because there's two hoppers. Do I advise that? Me personally, no, because I'm a bit of a nightmare when it comes to things like that. So I just know you're asking for tangles unless you're a complete bait boat expert. So I prefer to take one rig out at a time. I only have to worry about the one rod and the one line going out then. Obviously, if you're taking two out, if that boat turns by accident or, I don't know, a wave catches or whatever, you do risk those lines obviously crossing, which I do not advise. But you can take two rigs out in it if you want. I advise just taking one out at a time to be ultra precise. Well, I use this boat an awful lot for pre-baiting missions, so I do use a lot of bait, and that's mainly because of the GPS facility. I know how accurate it is, so I can get those spots marked up nice and tight, knowing that I can keep bait going into those areas. So in terms of numbers, around 5 kilos of 18mm boilies at a time. So that's a fair bit of bait. Think of it as, or think about using particles, maggots, corn and that sort of stuff. That is a lot of bait in one go. So you can really harvest areas, you can really get those spots nice and clean. So yeah, that's the amount of bait you can use. Well, yeah, look after it. You know, they're not cheap. They are, you know, the Ferraris of the bait boat world. So you're not going to treat your Ferrari badly. So always obviously keep it in its case when you're transporting it to the lake. One thing that's absolutely key is to remove the batteries after every single session. Don't leave them in because you can risk condensation and that sort of thing in the boat. So always remove the batteries at the end of a session. I always like to keep the boat nice and charged up. Other little tips, I've got a toothbrush in my bag and a cloth, so after each session, as you can see, the bait boat is slightly dirty after this session, and I have been using maggots, so I'll get the toothbrush and just remove any sort of maggot dust, any sawdust, that sort of stuff that's got into the little nooks and crannies. And yeah, I'm a bit of OCD on my boat, so I will get the cloth and give it a little wipe down after each session, making it sure that it's totally dry in the bag. In terms of the controller itself, I always keep it in the polystyrene sort of carry case that it's got with it as well, just to make sure that it's in tip-top condition. So yeah, look after the boat and it'll look after you.